Let's talk The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 3, Afterthoughts, Part 2. Now, Michonne's speech to Heath was absolutely epic. She put him in his place, and she was very clear on what she's saying. That was the setup. The payoff later is Heath finally understands. Before, Heath is like, I don't know if we could trust these people because of what Rick said. But once Michonne was like, you don't know. You're covered in so much blood, you don't know if it's yours, your friends, a walker's. You don't know, whoop-de-whoop. This shit changes you. She's trying to get through to him like, some people just can't survive. You will get into that situation where you're facing certain death and you have to just leave. He witnesses that with not only dude number 1, but he doesn't realize it at the time, but dude number 2, which he should have mercy killed. But again, think back to when Michonne and Rick killed the dude number 1 that got bit, and then Rick ran his pockets. Alexandrians were kind of looking around like, oh, that's, really, that's not, they were being sensitive of the situation. But then now look at the gate. Yes, Michonne should have put him down, but Michonne is already trying to get the Alexandrians to come back around and warm up to Rick and gang. It should have been the Alexandrians to put their friend down on the gate while he was suffering. That was a huge fail for everyone there. Michonne should have just said, you know what, you bunch of bitches, someone put him out. You know what I mean? This is getting ridiculous. This is the shit I was talking about. But anyway, so Heath finally understood. He watched Anna get ripped apart. He watched the dude on the gate viciously getting eaten alive, and all that pain, and imagine teeth just sinking into you and tearing out your flesh. And then he finally crosses the water, and he looks down into the water, and he sees the reflection of his face and the blood, and he doesn't know if it's his friends, or a walker's. I mean, it's just great how that came around full circle, because it wasn't just, showing that Michonne is right and she knows what she's talking about. It's taking the wedge out of there between Michonne and her group, with Rick and all them, and the Alexandrians. It slowly corroded that wedge, I should say, because before there was a clear wedge there. After Michonne's speech to him, her little lecture, and the events that they just successfully escaped from, even though they lost some people, they're still alive. They escaped it together, and it just showed the Alexandrians what it's really like out there. So basically there's some healing there, especially with Heath and Rick's group. I don't think he's going to be so much a dick to them in the future coming episodes. Ooh, let me backtrack real quick. When they're in the pet store, they were in a pet store, right? I know a couple people like, oh, why did the walker wait in the closet the whole time before they made noise? If that comes up in the episodes, in the future episodes or in the past episodes, if you ever wondered why the walkers waited, keep in mind when Enid, for one example, Enid was walking along and the walker looked dead just laying there, and then it just kind of came to. It does look like, for whatever reason, if the walkers just do not have a motivation to get up and attack and get food or whatever it is, it's like they kind of just shut down. Like the ones that are in the herd, they're on the go because something's shuffling them around. But these walkers that are trapped in closets or stuck in houses, sometimes it looks like they do just shut down. They are eyes closed, they're like dead, or maybe open, who cares, but they don't move, and then they hear something that piques their interest, and then they slowly get going, or they go, so that is a possibility. In the closet, it took them a while to hear something, and they finally came to. A lot of people talked about the gun click. We heard click click like they were out of ammo. Now we do know that there was dialogue removed. Greg Nicotero told us that they removed dialogue with Glenn told Nicholas, watch your ammo, and Glenn was like, okay, bong, 5 bullets, bong, 4, bong, 3, bong, 2, and he stops, leaving 1 for himself. That was in the original script. Well, it appears they took that out, and it does appear that because they took that out, it maybe one of the sound guys were like, oh, well, how are they going to know that Glenn's out of ammo? Let's insert 2 clicks here. And since they showed Glenn firing and then putting his gun down, and without pulling a trigger, it was kind of like, okay, maybe we'll just enter it right here. I don't want to jump the gun, but I think that was just a mistake on the sound guys, because it is clear, especially after Greg Nicotero confirmed it, that Nicholas was counting down his bullets. And then one thing I was really annoyed with the first time I watched the episode was the fact that when they went up to the dumpster by the fence, The fence was right behind a dumpster, and then when Glenn and them fall off and it starts panning out, we see walkers around the entire dumpster. Watching the episode again, I did notice it seems like, and we do know that those dumpsters, well, I mean, if you've ever been, taking out the trash in a restaurant before, you do know that those dumpsters are on wheels. At least everyone I've ever come across that I remember. I'm sure there's some that aren't on wheels, but a lot of them are on wheels there. Now, it would make sense that you would have such force with the walkers just trying to get at them that they moved the dumpster somewhat, and that would make sense that it got a little unstable because we see them as if it's a little unbalanced, but I bet it's not easy standing on those wobbly ass lids. I'm surprised they didn't fall right through, because they are not that sturdy. Not all of them. Some of them are flimsy as hell. So yeah, we do see right from the beginning, walkers do inch their way behind there. So that does explain it. Before I thought it was just a mistake, but it does explain it if you rewatch it. Walkers shimmied back there behind that. Now, Glenn's death, I did have a video covering Glenn's death, and I'm sure I'm going to have another video, another Afterthoughts video, talking about what they did, what direction they took, whether or not they keep him dead or they actually fake this out and Glenn really survived this, which is what I still believe. When I talk about Glenn's death being an odd angle, and I didn't enjoy it because, and this is if it was his death, 100%. This is why I would actually grade this a little less because of his death, because if he was officially dying, I said it in my Glenn video, just show him being ripped open. I know a couple of viewers were like, well, Glenn was a loved character, we don't want to see it, in gruesome fashion, and I don't buy that at all, because this was a gruesome death. You saw them ripping guts right out of Glenn, if it was Glenn. The only difference is the camera would pan down just a little bit more and actually see that Nicholas isn't on him, because the angle right now is very odd. That's the only thing I was saying. I'm not saying that they didn't show Glenn because he's such a loved character. I'm saying they didn't show it because they're playing around with us. There's just too much evidence to show that. As far as all the angles for the entire death scene, it's just weird. It doesn't make any sense. Go back and look at all the other deaths. They never had any that was weird like this. So I firmly believe he's still alive, and I do not believe that's a negative thing. I think that's a positive thing. The show that we love and support, right? They're breaking records. I seen an article real quick. I don't know the details, but I saw that they're breaking like trending records and article records. And I did tell you guys, there's people that, didn't even make videos before that posted a video talking about it that are now getting a shit ton of views. I remember stumbling across a video where the guy had like 5 subscribers, and it was probably like 50 or 60, and the dude had like 130,000 views about theories of Glenn's death. This was a positive thing for the fandom, and I don't know why fans are pissed off like, I'm done watching the show. If they fake us out like that, I'm totally done. If you love this fandom and you want to support it, come on, they got us on this one. Just let them have it. I don't get what the big deal is. And my biggest reason for that is they don't do it all the time. This is the very first time they faked this out with a character death. Unless I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Put down a character, and do not say Beth. She got her brains blown out. We already know that. Lori, that doesn't count either. We know she died. The conspiracy theories with that one is wild. And yes, I did recently hear a conspiracy theory that Lori didn't actually die. She escaped the back of the prison, healed up somewhere, and she will be saving people. She might even save Glenn. Yes, these are the kind of ridiculous theories that are out there. That is a real theory. Insanity. That and Negan will save Glenn and drag him to Alexandria and beat his head in for no reason, because they want The Walking Dead to give up on good writing, and all these theories that I'm hearing of what they should do is horrendous writing. It doesn't really make for a good argument if you say The Walking Dead has bad writing and you can't A, show what good writing is, B, give examples of what you would do for good writing, and then, C, when you do give examples, it's absolutely atrocious. Negan has a reason for killing people. Why would he save Glenn, drag him to Alexandria, and kill him in revenge or for the fun of it? For what purpose and meaning? I don't get it. Anyway, moving on. Ranting too much. I'm going to leave this in. And I'm going to separate this video in 2 videos. I already know it right now because I'm at like 30 minutes, so I gotta trim this somehow, so I'll give you guys something. Oh, but the last thing I'll say with Glenn is there is no escape. I watched it a number of times. Even if Jesus comes, even if Enid is somewhere, saves him, any of these other crazy theories, or maybe Rick's gunshots did distract some of the walkers and Glenn was able to get under the dumpster. Even still, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, he's covered in guts. That's not the same thing. I don't mean to burst your bubble or sound like a dick know-it-all, but it's 100% not the same thing. Glenn is covered in fresh guts. That's even worse for his situation. It's not better. Zombie guts smell like ass. You know what I mean? That's why it covers the scent of a person. Long story short, it's just worse for Glenn to be covered in fresh blood and guts. Nick did pop himself in the head, so his guts would need at least a full day to start rotting to be able to cover up the smell of, Glenn. And then one thing, in the end, I did mention this before, I do enjoy the fact that the wolves shot the RV, and that's why it didn't start. It didn't just not start out of nowhere. And if that is the case, that would be very odd for them to set that up. But I love how Rick guns down the wolf. I think it should be mandatory for now that Rick Grimes must fire off an automatic weapon at least once in every season, and at least 5 times during All Out War. Absolutely, I think that's mandatory. But I love when the wolves come in and start fighting with Rick. If you'll notice, the one wolf grabs him from behind and he's pulling him off the first guy, and he gives him that last kick to the face. Like, hold on, I'm not done. Bam! I love that scene. If I can, I'm going to get it in the video here. He just kicks him right in the face. That's great. And the last thing I want to mention are the aerial shots. I did appreciate all the aerial shots. It made it feel a lot bigger. It made this feel like the scope of a movie and not just a TV show that is filmed in a neighborhood where they have to awkwardly get angles right so you don't notice that there's an entire real world going on around them, you know? It helps to make the world feel real when they do those big wide shots, and this episode had a lot of those, and I absolutely loved it. Now again, guys, I am separating this into 2 videos, so this is most likely part 2. Please leave your thoughts and opinions down in that comment box of this episode and everything you thought about it. Please do watch it again. It was an entertaining episode. I think they are starting off fantastic with season 6. We're going to hit an episode that some might find slow because it's a standalone. I am actually very excited for it, and then after that I'm even more excited to come right back into the action with episode 5. This is probably one of my favorite seasons starting off right now. I absolutely love this season. In the direction it's headed is fantastic. So please leave your thoughts and opinions down in that comment box of this episode and also of season 6 as a whole. So far what we've seen and what you think is to come. I'm done talking. It's your turn.
Subscribe now.